since 2000. I have been both a handler, also a fursuiter. I haven't been fursuiting for the past couple of years. I do have 4 suits at home. The last suiting I actually did was at my church, where I DJ'd an auction for 4 hours in costume, which the only person who freaked out was the mom of the girl who dared me to wear suit to go and do the DJing with. Her mom freaked out on it. Everybody else thought it was absolutely cool.
My name is Huscoon. I am originally from Ohio. I currently live in Illinois. My character is a Husky Raccoon hybrid. I've been in the fandom since 2001 and have been fursuiting since 2004. Gosh, when you do that, it makes you feel old.
You are.
You're older than him.
I am 50, and I got carded.
Yeah. If I get carded when I'm 50, that is a life accomplishment.
You know, that right there, I'm like, I want to see any of you get carded at 50.
Okay, the gals
There's the challenge.
card older men because they like it.
Well, you're definitely getting carded then. So I have been in the fandom since 2001, been fursuiting since 2004. I don't proclaim to be an expert on performance. This gentleman definitely knows a lot more about it than I do, so I basically brought him along to correct me whenever I screw up. And so hopefully what you can take away from this panel today is just a better understanding of how to portray your character. Every character is different. I don't expect everyone to follow these guidelines as a Bible. That is not what you should take away from this panel. What you should take away is a better way of portraying who your character is when you are in fursuit. For some people, you have multiple fursuits, like that person back there. How many fursuits? Yeah, you. How many? Show me on your fingers how many fursuits you have. 2. Thank you. But even with different fursuits, you're going to portray them as different characters. So I don't want to see a bunch of robots who all do the same thing. Even as you move from person to person, from character to character, you can do something different. This is just some guidelines. If you want to choose to ignore some or exploit others, that is up to you. There is really no right or wrong way to go about fursuiting. There's just ways that are better than others. So, we even have a disagreement on the first one I listed. One thing, and this is a pet peeve of mine, and there are going to be exceptions to it, and you'll see exceptions all throughout the con. I am a proponent of silent fursuiters. I think that when you are silent, it forces you to interact with people in ways that can be more engaging. So if you're not talking, you have to interact with them in different ways, whether it be big expressions, whether it be being a lot more interactive with them. I can talk to anybody in this room like I'm doing right now, and if I just put on a fursuit and continue doing that, what have I brought to the character? Not really much that I can't bring out in person. If I choose to be quiet, then it makes me interact with them in a more expressive way. So that's at least how I see it. Now there are people who they get fursuits with movable jaws. They get fursuits that they don't care about the as you two are showing. Exactly. And for those, if you want to use your normal voice, that is perfectly fine. If you want to use a character voice, I think that's even better. If you would have 2 fursuits, say a tiger and say a mouse, you would probably use a deeper voice for the tiger. Whereas if you're a mouse, you would use a very high-pitched, squeaky voice if you want to portray those species as is. Now, granted, if anyone who's watched Five Goes West knows that some mice don't always squeak.
Always remember, you are your character. If you're going to do a voice, you've got to make sure it's a voice you're comfortable doing, because you've got to keep that voice all the time. Don't change in midstream. The other thing is, be consistent with it. Even if you have a movable jaw, you might not speak English with having that movable jaw. You might only utter sounds with it. That's perfectly acceptable. You're doing that within character, and that's one of the things that a movable jaw adds to you, is you can do that. You can do things silently with the movable jaw. But you want to be consistent with that. You always want to be the same thing. I use my regular voice with all of my characters. That's just how I am. I'm a professional speaker. I'm used to projecting. The thing is, once you get inside there, remember, your volume has now been cut by at least 2/3. You're going to have to shout if you're going to use a speaking voice to really be heard if they don't have you mic'd. And that's part of what you've got to realize when you're going to do that interaction. The other thing, and I've always got a problem with it, I'll smile while I'm in suit. It's like, you moron! It's not like your facial muscles are connected to the outside. It's the outside head is not going to smile for you. That said, smile inside the suit. This is your time to shine. Do the expressions inside because you're going to have to exaggerate it, but when you're doing it, that hopefully is getting you in the mindset to how do I make this happen on my character as well.
And you bring up a great point about smiling because when you are projecting a character onto someone, it is so much tougher to do it when you are wearing a 15, 20-pound fursuit. And that kind of leads me into the next phase is that you want to exaggerate everything you do. Everything you do in fursuit has to be exaggerated. If it doesn't feel stupid, you're doing it wrong. Now, this is where I use the tiger for an example, okay? Now, if I'm the tiger, oh, someone wants a hug, okay? Normal person hug, I'm just gonna do this, okay? Now, what does that look like in fursuit? No, what does a normal hug look like in fursuit? Okay, now, I'm gonna show you how stupid it looks when I'm in fursuit and I go to hug somebody. That is how I hug when I'm in fursuit, but you don't see that because I look like an idiot not wearing a bunch of fur. Now, if you do the same thing, see how adorable? See what I mean though about exaggerating everything? That looks so much better, whereas if I try doing that out of suit, it looks kind of ridiculous. If you do that same ridiculous thing in fursuit, it brings your character to life. It expresses so many things that cannot be expressed when you decide not to talk or just have 20 pounds of fur covering you. That's just one example. If I'm angry, like this person back here just really upset me. I am mad at you right now because of the color purple. The color purple makes me angry. Now, if I'm doing this in fursuit though, I can't just do like this because, it's showing nothing. Now, how do I want to show that I am angry at you? I want to look ridiculous. So, to a point, if you think it looks stupid outside of suit, you're doing a great job.
Being that I do speaking and that, I've also gotten to know a lot of voice actors. A real good showing on this one is go and find Robin Williams when he was recording Aladdin.
Yes.
And look at the expressions he's doing inside the sound booth. Which the fact of the matter is, all you're going to get is the voice. Now, they were filming it because the artists want to know, what was he doing with his arms? How is he doing that? And that's the type of speaker that he is. You've got to be moving the arms around to do that. And he was exaggerating everything because the only thing that's going to get picked up on that recording is the voice. So you've got to project that mentality that much more. It's like throwing the ball in bowling. Once you've let it go, it doesn't matter what you do. But if you're not using body English, you're not doing it right. You've got to kick out your hip to get the ball to turn that little bit more to get that last pin. It's not going to do anything, but that's how it works. When you're acting, you've got to do that extreme. You've got to get out to the side. You also have to know what's around you. And that's the thing, I guess, on exaggeration. At home, put on your suit for 4 hours and go around with that so that you know how far you're going to extend. Because when you're doing this, you can't see behind you. and you don't know where everything that you've got is swinging and what it's hitting.
That is a great segue. I'm gonna use that. One other thing I want to mention: if you are one of the people who decides to talk in fursuit, again, up to personal preference. When you are talking, it's probably a good idea to move your head. Don't just talk like this and keep your head still. If you are going to talk, you want to kind of bob your head, or if you are going to disagree, no. You want to exaggerate even your head, even if you're going to talk, because if I just say, no, well, that looks okay right here. In fursuit, it's like, it's kind of bland. If I, no, when you're in fursuit, now, actually, I want the tiger to come up here. You have no problem talking in fursuit, do you?
No.
Okay, so, all right, just, okay, so go ahead and talk to the people without moving your head.
Hi friends, how are you doing today? It's nice to see you. I know some of you, I've seen you around the con.
Don't start moving your head when you talk.
I'm really happy to be up here and talk to you guys. It's so much fun. This con is so entertaining. This is my first fur con, so I mean, you know, it's also new to me, and now he has me up on stage. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Do you guys see the difference in what she is doing? How much more expressive, how much more engaging it is when you're moving and moving your head, moving your entire body. Did you notice the other thing that happened when I said start moving your head? Did you notice what else she started doing? Exactly. She started moving her entire body. If you just move your head, the rest of your body gets into the act with you. And it works the same vice versa. If you're talking with your hand, who was the one workout guy who would always, like Jake Roberts, is that his name? Body by Jake? The guy, okay, anyway.
Body back
If you are talking with your hands, your head goes with you. It does. It makes you a lot more engaging, a lot more convincing of a character.
Every one of you is Italian. You're gonna speak with your hands. If you tie the hands, you can't say a word anymore.
But going back to what you were saying about being aware of your surroundings, my fursuit, as hopefully you all will see before the end of the con, even though I'm on staff and they pretty much have me handcuffed every event. Don't feel sorry for me. This is my own fault. You will notice that I especially have to be aware of my surroundings because I have a tail that it is built for taking out Goombas. Like, yes. Once you see me in fursuit, you will know exactly what I mean. I have to be aware of my surroundings, especially what is behind me at all times, because I can spin around and I can take out anybody. And that's one of the great things about having a handler, if you have a handler, but we'll get to that later. You definitely want to be aware of your surroundings. One thing about being animals, you have a muzzle. You're not used to being a human. When you have a muzzle, you are not used to not seeing anything that is below eye level. It takes out everything. Like right now, if I was in fursuit, I would not be able to see the two fursuiters right in front of me unless I was looking right at them. And you have to understand that, okay, there is a step right here. There is people right in front of me. There is a chair that is about 10 paces that way. And once I take 9 paces, I'm going to have to make a move to avoid that chair. And you really have to be aware of yourself. I'm not trying to pick on you for earlier, I promise. You do. You want to be very aware of your surroundings so that you don't take out anybody or knock over some lady's $7 drink at a bowling alley, which I may or may not have done in the past.
You're supposed to steal the drink, not knock it over.
I know.
And this, I've probably spent more time actually being a handler, or as we call them, spotters. I've done more time doing that, and the old comment used to be the worst problem is we teach somebody how to be a spotter, and then they become a fursuiter. And that's actually how I got my start. Is I used to be a spotter for Panda Guy, and I've done that when he's been at zoos. So out in public and having to watch. Here's where the little kids are. Here's where the impediments on the sidewalk are. Because as a suitor, you're not going to see that. And I have enough problems walking on regular pavement that at Indy, in the Brickyard 400, I wound up falling over for the first time in years because I hit a rut just enough that my ankle slid. And I'm just in regular clothes, so I was able to go and take the fall. In a suit, I wouldn't have seen that, and I would have been completely disoriented because now, once again, my vision is here. I don't have full surroundings that I can see where can I throw myself, which I was able to do. I can throw myself this way, I've got a clear place that I can land and not be hurt. In suit, you don't have that. I really recommend get a handler, get a spotter, because you really need one. Even the people that are very experienced, a lot of them always have a handler somewhere nearby, because no matter what, if something goes wrong, you've got a person to back you up. We were talking earlier, joking about the don't die, but the fact of the matter is, Panda Guy started getting choked in his suit. He had a different head that he was trying with a new suit, and it started choking him. And this is at the Akron City Zoo. We can't just de-head in the middle of the place because you got kids all over the place, they're going to go screaming. So I had to be already on the lookout because he gave me the high sign once I got close enough, because he had a non-movable jaw. I could hear him say, I'm choking, I need to get a place where I can take the head off. I'm like, okay, this way. And I was able to lead him to a spot where we were out of sight and he could pull the head off and rework the chin so it wasn't cutting off his ear. That's why you need a spotter. You need a backup.
Who in here does not have a fursuit? And there's no shame in not having a fursuit. Would you not lie? That joke's already been done. You cannot steal it. Being a spotter, it can be fun. It really can be. It sounds boring at first, because the fursuiter will probably say, hey, help me get the fursuit on. Hey, let me know where there's kids, where there's chairs, where I can run into stuff. And it is. You get to learn kind of what life is like for a fursuiter. Now, granted, being a fursuiter is also a great experience for being a spotter, because you know what the dangers are. And if you are a spotter, you're pretty much you need to have some kind of code, some kind of language with your fursuiter, whoever you're helping. If they need to get out of the suit, there needs to be either a code word or something they do. Maybe they will put their arm around your shoulder, and that's kind of a code for, hey, I need to take the head off, I'm getting tired. Maybe there's just something that they will do in their emotions, or maybe they'll just be brave and say, can we get out of fursuit, which is fine. I actually, I have no problem talking to my handler, because they're not, they are seeing me as kind of a partner in this. They're not seeing me as a performer, if that makes sense. So I will say, hey, can we get out of fursuit? Hey, what's going on over that way? And just talk to them a little bit, kind of interact, but not keep them right on my feet.
You five have the magic. The thing is, a spotter really is like actually 6 back there. The thing is, the spotter is almost like in the Buddhist plays where you have the puppets where they're wearing all black. Spotter doesn't exist. We're not there. But we've not only got to be watching the person we're working for, but the person that they're working for. So you've got to be looking out for everybody that's out there, where everything is, plus the person in suits. So you've really got the most critical job as a spotter, because you've got to have everything going and know exactly what's going where, so you can get the person out or help them out, or just basically walk over. And like the one place I saw, there was a rut in the road. And so I just sort of stood there, Panda Guy comes up, and he notices I'm not letting him walk where he wanted to go, and he had to go around me. But that was the whole thing. By not going and doing anything, now I'm just going to be a jerk and just stand here and make you go around. Nobody knew what I was doing. He figured it out. Oh, you're keeping me from hitting something that I would have tripped over and fallen down, and I just went around you and kept right on going. And nobody knew the exchange that we already had. Didn't take one word to be said saying, oh, you got to go this way. And I just stood there. I was a lunk. Waited. Once he got past, like, okay, go find the next thing that he's going to trip on.
But yeah, being a spotter, and it's I think one of the worst things you can do if you're being a spotter or handler is get distracted, because you are that person's, you are their eyes and ears. You almost have to assume that the fursuiter you're working with cannot see you or cannot hear. Because there are times where there may be something going on right over here, I cannot hear it. I've got, 3 inches of foam on both sides of my ear. The only openings are in the mouth and in the eyes. I'm not going to hear something that may be plainly obvious right over here. I'll tell you what, if I was in fursuit right now, I would not hear the people who are walking up and down the hallway. So you have to, yes. You're just trying to irritate me, aren't you?
He's succeeding too.
I can hear.
What?
Not hard.
Yes, it is. Especially over my voice. Come on. What? What? Exactly.
You're a light bulbs.
Now I lost my train of thought. Derailed. Great.
Staying at the chat, maybe
Go back to the book. What all else
Yeah,
fails, read the manuals.
Okay, what we got? What?
Children in the back.
So you were talking about them being in ears and getting distracted.
Yes. Your spotter is going to be your eyes and ears, and you do not. The worst thing you can do as a spotter is basically lose focus of what you're supposed to be. There are times where I've said, "Hey, do you want to be my handler? I'm going to be doing this, or just make sure I don't die." Blah blah blah. And within 5 minutes, the person gets bored and wanders off somewhere else, and all of a sudden, I'm left alone doing whatever I can. And usually they have the freaking room key also. Always fun. Just remember what your responsibilities are. Did you have a question?
And just that goes like quadruples for quad suitors.
Oh gosh.
Especially, I may be the only one who has this problem though. My forelegs were experimentally designed to use suspension rather than holding onto a stilt.
Okay.
So I'm literally unable to remove the front legs.
Ooh.
And so yeah, my hands are completely disabled while wearing the quad suit.
Now, I'm working on it.
I don't know anyone else whose hands are
It's not
completely
unique.
disabled here.
But yeah, and even normally though, quad suitors just have that as they need to be watched all the time.
Yeah.
Because also, people tend to take more liberties in quad suitors because they think, oh, I can take a ride, I
Yeah.
can corner them.
Guys, do not, never, ever, ever, ever ride a quad suiter.
Please don't.
Because you don't, for one, you don't know, unless you really, really know that person. If you don't know that person, you don't know they have back problems, if they just don't have if they don't have strong muscles, or it should just be common sense. I weigh 240 pounds. If I try sitting on someone's back, I may kill them. You don't ever, ever, ever get on top of a quad fursuit. You should actually never jump on a fursuiter's back unless they are expecting it. That has happened to me, and I consider myself a strong person. If someone jumps on your back and you are not expecting it, you are just asking for injuries, and we're getting away kind of from the performance aspect. But being able, as a fursuiter, you should know exactly how to interact with other fursuiters, and it should be, hey, I want to give you a high five, so to give a fursuiter a high five, I'm going to put the hand right in front of their face. If I go like this, yeah. But if I go like that, hey, yeah. If you're not in suit, or even if you are in suit and you want to interact with fursuiters, the best way to do it, everything,
first.
huh?
Get their attention first,
Yes.
especially for small people that they can't see.
Oh, that is so true. It is. And yeah, get their attention. Everything you want to do to interact with them needs to be right in front of their face. It's like, high five, hug, I'm going to punch your lights out.
Tap them on the shoulder, tap them on the leg.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to, be, touchy with someone who you're trying to get their attention with.
You'll find out their personality as soon as you touch them.
Yes.
Well, and the common thing is, and this has always been a standard within the fandom, touching the shoulder is a safe place. That's why you want to do that. Nobody's going to feel offended when you go and touch their shoulder and you're getting their attention. That's why the old, oh, I'm going to tap on the opposite shoulder.
If you're
That's not really,
right.
I mean, why don't you go try cow tipping? I mean, that's not a sport.
If you're
It's like-
touch their leg.
There are bowls.
There's little people
All
in
right,
there, so
both
touch
of
their hip or their arm.
Yeah. So that's the thing. You want to make sure they know where you're at, get their attention. Don't try and fake out someone, because it's just not, it's not sporting.
Yeah. If it's someone you know well, you can put your arm around their shoulder and they'll know that the arm is coming from there. If it's someone you know well, the better you know a fursuiter and you know who is in it, trust me, I've had a couple of experiences where it's like, oh, that's so-and-so, I know him. No, that's not who you think it is. There was one person at MFF several years ago. It's like, hey, I recognize him. And like, grab by his shoulders and kind of just lean him up against the wall, and the person tapped like, that's not who you think it is. And it's like, oh, shoot. It's like, hug, I'm sorry, I didn't know. It's okay. Was just a little scared. True story.
One of the things, and we're talking about some of the safety issues, no matter what, safety first. If you are in a situation, even as a performer, where things have gotten out of hand and you need to dehead, if you feel that you are in a threatening situation, pull the head. There have been too many people that outside have gotten hurt because somebody thought they were doing a funny joke, and unfortunately the person in fursuit couldn't see what was going on, and it got out of hand. And it drives me nuts to see anything like that happening. If you have to, safety first. Your personal safety takes ride over everything else, and you have to remember that. You no matter what, are responsible for your own safety. It's a sad world that we have to do it that way, but you've got to remember that, and if you need to, do so. I at all costs try not to. I had somebody at a photo shoot down at Method, and they pushed the back of my head, and that one actually had a strapping system for the chin, and I started choking during the photo shoot. I looked where the headless lounge was, and it's like, okay, and I walked off from where the photo shoot was being taken, went right in there and popped the head. I was able to get there, but I had gone about 45 seconds without being able to breathe. That I actually was at the point where I was choking, that I could not breathe in any way, shape, or form, because it had constricted my neck. Had I felt I could not get up the stairs and over to that room, I would have popped head right there on the floor. Because I'm not going to play that game. And at that point, I put the head back on. It's like, you know what, that's the end of my fursuiting for the day. That it made me upset. I wasn't about to interact, and I wasn't going to take it out on other people. So it's like, you know what, put the head on, go back to my room, de-suit, get into regular clothes, and just relax.
One other thing about safety, and some of the more instances that you're going to deal with on a more common basis. For one, stay hydrated. Please, even if you don't think you need to take a break, take a break. I've always said a good number is about every 2 hours, depending on how rough you're going. If you're running up and down this hallway, you may need to take a break after 15 minutes. If you're just walking around and hugging people and interacting just casually, you can probably go about 2 hours. Even the professionals are taking breaks, what, about every 30 minutes?
I was going to say,
Every half
for Walt Disney World, any performer that's up on top, it's up topside in costume, how long have they been up topside? What is the maximum they have been up?
30 minutes.
Exactly. At 30 minutes, they are down below. They are not up topside anymore because they can't risk, because they can't pop head. They've had people that have vomited inside because they've gotten so sick. They vomited inside the head. They can't pop head up topside. They have their hand signals with their handler. If they're getting sick and they get pulled off, Walt Disney World is built 2 stories above ground. There is 2 stories before you get to ground level. They're taken into one of the buildings and they go right down. they're out of sight. When they're out of sight, they'll pop head.
And the general, as I said, if you're not being that active, you can probably go about 2 hours. I wouldn't suggest anything more than 2 hours, and that's if you are, just walking up and down the hallway, giving hugs, or even just interacting. Take a break, take about 15 minutes, get some water, rehydrate, because these are fursuits. You sweat a lot in them. If it's 72 degrees in here, it feels great to me. These 4 people are sweating. Always take breaks. What you do not want to do, and people do this, and granted it sounds fun, but you don't want to do it. Do not drink alcohol before or during fursuiting. Because one thing that fursuiting does is you sweat a lot, you lose a lot of water. One thing alcohol does, it dehydrates you. So imagine alcohol plus fursuiting. Not a very good combination if you're going to excessively drink and then go run around in fursuit. Probably going to have to call 911 for you if you're doing too much of both of those. So it is not wise to be drinking and then to fursuit. As fun as it sounds, and as fun as some people will say it is, thank you very much, I appreciate it. It is a very, very poor idea. You know what? The mom just left, didn't she?
Yep.
She'll be back. She
She'll
just
be
went
back.
to the bathroom.
Okay. Anything you want to add to the safety?
I think the big thing you brought up there was just your timing, and I've done it maximum 4 hours. This is where you really do need to do it at home, but also remember, now I know what I want to go with on that one. Your head is where I can put on a full fursuit, and I don't care. I can wear regular clothes and put on my fursuiting head, and in 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, somebody turn up the AC. Because you don't have heat being whipped away from your head anymore. If you've got a balaclava, that can be a good thing, especially the ones that are wicking away the water. You have the hairstyle I used to have. Now that I'm retired from the military, now I have the commander hippie look. And so now I've got it added, because no matter what, I'm not getting heat away from my head. And this is where you really have to worry about it, because you get above 100 degrees, you're now going into your danger zone. You're up to 103, you're up to 104. It's getting real bad. You get to 105, you're starting to risk brain damage. You've got to be real careful. That's the whole thing with the fever. Why you've got to get the person's temperature down. Above 105, you're risking damage. With the fursuit, you don't have that heat getting away in any way, shape, or form. Now, how many of you have cool suits?
What's a cool?
Okay, a cool suit, they were actually designed for the military back in the 50s.
Are you talking like ice pack?
Not quite. Cool suit has water tubes running through it.
Oh, it's like a space heat exchanger.
It's basically a heat exchanger. Lion of the Sun, down in Atlanta, he basically bought a bunch of old 1950s military cool suits. He rebuilt them for fursuiters. All of a sudden, guys that were in Iraq were buying them, and he got a call from the military. What did you do? Because we want to go and take this design change that you made that took these 1950s cool suits and made them effective today. That's how good his cool suits are. They're about $275 for the vest. Now, for me personally, I never bought one. What I did do, and it used to be a big thing, was go to the sewing stores and buy the pattern for a one-piece dive suit and make it out of swimsuit material. It's going to save your fursuit, because, let's face it, if you're going to go and clean a fursuit, you really need to send it to a dry cleaner or somebody that can handle stuff like this. You don't put it into the washing machine. It just ain't going to come out right. When you wear a bodysuit underneath, that's hopefully going to take the damage that the sweat would normally cause. Now, that swimsuit that I made, I can throw that in the washing machine and I don't care. That washes. And if you know the color of the fur that you've got over the top, you can buy the swimsuit material in a light color, so it doesn't show through. So that's something, and I find it keeps me a lot cooler. And it's actually the same material as this racing shirt is. It's a polyester, but it actually helps keep me cool. And I found that was very good for doing a full bodysuit. I do mostly partials now, but if you're doing full
You can switch
bodysuits,
the
I
tank
really
if
do
you want.
recommend
The battery
that
should
you
be
do the
charged.
one-piece swimsuit underneath, because that will keep you a little bit cooler, but it'll also keep the inside of your suit cleaner.
Yes.
One of the recommendations, I'm wearing Under Armour.
Yep. That is great. Under Armour is, I recommend it to, like I
I'm sorry,
bring
this one to
4
look at.
long sleeve Under Armour shirts and 4 long sleeve pants to every con.
So wear long sleeve pants.
You know,
You asked me to be up here with you, just remember.
I did. Not regretting
Oh,
it yet.
fault.
Yet.
Come back
But,
to the
no,
bathroom.
but yes, regardless, I bring 4 different ones because I don't want to, I figure I'm going to fursuit probably 3 or 4 times every con. And so, but yeah, I think
Those
they
are the
amazing.
they are the expendable part then, and that keeps your suit drier, because unless you've gone and built a suit tree, cool it off and dry it out in your room, what are you going to do? You're just going to hang it up? It's not going to dry that fast. You don't have a forced air system in every room. Now, the people that I know that have built those, yeah, I can dry out my suit in an hour, and I can get back out there again.
Let's see, a couple of other things. I think we've mentioned, one thing about knowing your fursuit. And, before we continue, let me say, I know we've gotten pretty serious here. Fursuiting is, from my experience, the most fun I have at a con, each and every con. It really, really is. It is a great time. Whenever people talk about, hey, remember at such and such a con when you blah, 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 and oh my gosh, I couldn't feel my elbow for 2 hours, usually involves fursuiting. Actually, yes, that is me. Hi. I'm running a panel right now, okay? Okay, go find Gray. All right. No idea. Roommates. See, because I was in fursuit, I could hear them. Or wasn't in fursuit, I could hear them.
How much have you had to drink already?
You know what? It is IFC. I couldn't drink at FCN when it used to exist. I know it's an excuse. Fursuiting is a lot of fun. It is the most fun you will have at a con once you get a fursuit. My first fursuiting con, I was in fursuit for 25 hours. Is what I counted. Yeah. No, not continuously. No. 25 hours throughout the entire 3-day con, which is still a lot of time. It is now granted not as much anymore because usually I find myself with other responsibilities like telling other people how to fursuit. Telling people what the fursuit track has to offer, and then running games, and me. No, you don't. I know you do. Tiger. No, I love seeing you guys. I love seeing fursuiters have fun. That's why I have no problem being on staff and helping you guys have fun, especially for this con. It is the best experience you will have at a con. It really, really is. And people are like, why would you spend $3,000 on this giant animal costume? And it's like, yep, you don't know. It's worth every penny of it.
At least for me, the first anime con that I did in costume, I actually fursuited at an anime con before I fursuited at a furry con. And it was having the 7-year-old run up to grab the tails because I had the kitsune costume and I had the 9 tails behind me. And the parents are ready to freak out. And I'm giving them the sign like, nope, it's all cool. He's not pulling, he's just grabbing the tails. And they're like, okay, he's all okay with this. And the smile it brought to that kid's face. I know the year that Katrina hit down there at that pit. The hotel that we were at was one of the refugee hotels. And we came in and everybody saw what the kids were like. And a bunch of the fursuiters immediately got into costume, came back out and started playing with the kids. The parents went to Tiger Cowboy and commented, that's the first we've seen our children smile since we left Nollins. People ask, why do you do it? That's why. That's why you do it. You're bringing comfort to someone else. You can have fun, bring a smile, and it doesn't cost a thing.
You can come in. Nobody will bite here. I don't
Unless you ask.
Well, we do have a tiger, so you
Sounds
know.
like a lie.
Tigers bite.
Nice teeth though.
I'm sorry, I'm
We're not interrupting.
Now, the question is, do you have to gnaw on stuff, or do they like grow up and then, I mean, I know that's a problem for rats, that if you're not gnawing them,
No.
No.
Now, Miss, what is your name?
Me?
Yes.
Nika.
Nika, you want to come up here for this next segment? Because you may have some good insight.
You're so important, Nika.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about before we left was how to interact with children when you are in fursuit.
Oh Lord.
Because here in my experience with fursuiting, I get one of two reactions from kids. They either love your fursuit or they are scared to death of it. There was, at least in my experiences, there is no middle ground, and you need to be, if you are in fursuit and you are going to interact with kids, you need to be very aware of how they are responding. If
They're scared. You just
yeah, if they are scared,
and they're scared of somebody.
yeah, and sometimes they don't want to deal with you. And at that point, you just, you back away, and because sometimes the kids will be either hugging their mother's leg or hugging, and they're kind of looking at you and not wanting to look at you. You back away, you deal. Sometimes you'll see it with kids, and as a fursuiter, you don't like that reaction. But the worst thing you can do is try and convince the kid that you were safe.
Just don't go near them.
Yeah. At that point, you basically want to back away. It's not even a battle. It's something no one's going to win here if you try to go up there and try to comfort them. It's just not going to. Now, the exact opposite reaction.
Rocket. He'll hug anyone, anywhere. If they're wearing a fursuit, he's like, yes, you're awesome.
That is the exact opposite reaction. For them, you also still need to remember a couple things. The big thing from my experiences, and please correct me or add to it whenever you hear me screw up, which is already done. First off, get down to their level. What I mean by that is you want to squat, kneel, whatever your knees will allow you to do to get down to their level. You don't want to be looming over the child.
right like that, that's all it takes. One step forward, you're now down.
Even if you can't do that, they'll appreciate just a hug.
Can't help.
I mean, the really enthusiastic ones will just appreciate any type of interaction whatsoever.
The other thing that this has done by doing this now, I now have basically set myself up. I've got weight over here, I've got weight over here. I can now, if he comes up and hugs hard, I've got a better position because now I have this leg on the ground and I've got a better balance.
Yeah.
Don't
Because-
squat.
No, squatting is a bad thing unless you're wearing NFT. If you've got the $10,000 fursuit made out of NFT, you can afford to squat. If
They'll
you don't
still
have
knock you over.
NFT,
I'd still recommend taking a knee.
well, I'm saying
Like them, they'll run
ripping
you
the suit
at you.
because the seam
Oh.
of your suit. That's why kneeling is a bit safer. You're not stretching and pulling the fursuit that hard.
You're not gonna fall over.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. My kids are rather
50-year-old knees, and look at how fast I came up.
And that is the big thing is you really do. You want to get down to their level. You want to kneel, and you want to make sure that when they do come and hug you, that they aren't heckling you.
And you can see them.
Yes. And yeah, that is the big thing. Remember how I said earlier that when you have a muzzle, you don't see anything below you? Once you get down to their level, you can see where the kids are coming from.
Yeah.
And some kids, some kids don't even, they may not be interested in the hug. They may, like there was one kid at Megaplex just last month. All he wanted to do was he wanted to throw a ball. So, okay, I sat and I'll sit down, catch it, throw it back very gently. Now I'm not gonna wing at the kid because that's really, really bad.
Having a handler around kids is imperative. Even if you tap somebody on the shoulder and be like, hey, I've got a kid, then you can see around you.
And if you are a spotter and you see a kid just staring at the fursuiter that you are handling, when you're out to the fursuiter, the kid may be curious, they may really want to hug, but they don't know what to say, or they may just be frightened to death of the fursuiter. At which point, you go up there. If they are reacting poorly, then you back up.
Well, there's the second thing that you're doing, or yet another thing you're doing as the handler. You might see the child that's a little bit nervous about coming up there. You're not in suit. You're not the scary man. You're just a plain person. You can interact with that child. Oh, come on. You want to meet him? Come on up. I'll take you up.
He's shy too. Don't worry about it.
And you can work that and then bring the child up, because one of the worst ones I had, we had the Halloween party at work, and so I brought in my fox costume. And most of the kids were just absolutely all over a talking white fox. This is oh so cool. And then I decided, because I had been in suit, and this is one of the times I had been in suit for about 4 hours. Well, I'm also doing work. I had set up my head suit, or my headpiece, inside the head. So I plugged in, I'm taking phone calls and everything at work. I unplugged, I'm going to go up and check my mail because it's 3 o'clock and the mail has been delivered. I go up there and I get my mail and I've got it in my hand and I'm ready to turn, and I walk out of the mail room and there's one of the moms bringing in her child. Mommy, I'm scared. And I'm like, I'm just going to go through and go down the hall right now, okay? And I quickly made a beeline for the door that was open and right out, because like, okay, obviously this kid is just freaking, can't handle it. It's like, if I back up into where the mailroom was, when they tried to go through the door, he still would have seen me. It's like, okay, it's a bad situation. How can I make it not so bad? I'm departing. I'm going. And let them know I'm going.
Kids will respond to acting scared. Covering your head or covering your ears or stuff like that. Kids respond to that really well as well.
Yeah, and there are a couple times where I will deal with a kid and they're not sure what to think. And you definitely do want to act, more timid towards them. You want to, like, okay, I don't know if I trust you, you don't know if you trust me, let's see if we can work this out. And, sometimes they'll be more receptive to it. And, it's like, okay, I'm just going to go for a quick high five, and that's it. But yeah, interacting with kids, it can brighten up a fursuiter's day if they're getting no response from anybody, and all of a sudden there's this kid who absolutely loves their fursuit. Boom! It really can. It can make your experience as a fursuiter. It makes up for all the bad days if you have any bad days of fursuit. We've got about
10 minutes.
about 5 or 10 minutes left. Open up for questions. If anyone has any questions about whether it be performance or anything related to fursuiting that Commander Kitsune or I could answer.
Yeah.
You done?
You need to get a little card though and have every fursuiter stamp that. It's like, I got every fursuiter this con.
The autograph books. Yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to say that for quads, it's sort of a lot more about the posing than anything else to get that to work. Because, you're not going to talk to a quad. They're already feral, so it's sort of expected. And you can't really emote so much except to sort of like rear up and talk. So you have to really nail down how it is that your species walks, like what, what. Because I think felines go diagonally, and felines go laterally, almost all others go diagonally.
Right.
Eat the baby.
And you know, you have to be able to
Eat
get
it.
the legs in.
That's
'Cause
not
I spent
eating
like
it.
2 years just not being able to get the sitting down.
Yeah. Claws are a whole.
Eat it.
Yeah, I think we can have
Eat
an
it.
entire
Eat it.
panel on
Eat it.
quads.
Nom 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 nom.
Maybe not, maybe for next year.
They're not good.
One other thing, and I guess these guys are kind of reminding me, throwing and catching in fursuit, ow. After experience, you can get good at it. Actually,
Now for the panel throwing like
yeah.
I'm gonna find out here.
Why?
I would
Because,
say keep it away from him.
Take it. Okay.
I guess like if you want to talk about throwing or catching, that's like fursuiting 202 at that point, or 201, in which you have to really learn how to do it without depth perception. But actually, I love the header photo on my Twitter account, which is me actually successfully hitting a moving target with a softball bat. But that
Playing with
is,
small objects.
yes,
Period.
I am very proud of that moment. If you're gonna try and do something like that, the best thing to do is almost close one eye and just get used to where the ball should be or where the thrown object should be at that point in time. Are there any more questions any more questions I should say before we wrap things up? I feel bad because I feel like we should have questions. I don't think we covered everything that there is to cover about performing.
Well, I would like to thank everybody out there for being such a great audience. So, talk to you guys.
Thank you guys.
Awesome suits.
Find this raccoon. Watch it.
Catching is tough in fursuit. It is tough.
Put your fursuit on.
Catching is tough in fursuit.
I'm wearing basketball. Okay.
When it starts.
In fursuit?
Yeah, I got messed up.
Going in person is fun.
Yeah, take
I was in a big old lion costume that didn't fit.
Turn around, right there.
I don't know if the shooters should do it.
Yeah,
They're the big
they're
like rubber heads.
all right, everybody. Thank you to all for coming out here. We greatly appreciate having your attention for an hour. I was able to attention for an hour. There was plenty to do with this con over the next 2 days. Please, and there's going to be a lot of fursuiting opportunities. Please have fun. Be safe, have fun. Thank you guys.